Whenever someone goes missing and their disappearance garners a lot of publicity, it's inevitable that investigators will be flooded with tips from eyewitnesses claiming to have seen the victim. In most cases, these eyewitness sightings are never officially confirmed to be genuine, and it usually turns out that the witness saw someone else and mistook them for the missing person. After graduating from his Oklahoma City high school and being named valedictorian, 18-year-old August Rager was awarded a full scholarship to the University of Oklahoma in 2013. The Rager family decided to celebrate by taking August on a trip to Ecuador. They stayed in the resort town of Banos. On June 16, the Ragers decided to go hiking on a scenic mountain trail. During the hike, August got ahead of his family and told them he would meet them at the summit at the end of the trail. August disappeared out of sight, but when his family reached the summit, he was nowhere to be found. He did not return to their hotel, and a search of the area turned up no trace of him. At the time, August was not carrying any money or his passport. While it was initially suspected that August had gotten lost, an eyewitness sighting would open up the disturbing possibility that he was kidnapped. Several days after August's disappearance, it was announced that he had been spotted inside a pickup truck heading toward the Amazon region. Throughout the next year, there would be more reported sightings of a young man resembling August in Ecuador. The incident wound up making national news. President Barack Obama made a statement about August's disappearance and referred to him as a missing patriot. Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa also pledged his support to the Rager family and told them that he would make it his mission to find August. Despite all the publicity this case has received, the ultimate fate of August Rager is still unknown. On the evening of January 16, 1995, 15-year-old Rachel Pratt was watching a movie with her brother at their family's residence in Garden City, Kansas. When Rachel's mother returned home at approximately 2 a.m., Rachel's brother had fallen asleep, but Rachel herself was gone. Other than her jacket, she left behind all her personal belongings. At the time, Rachel was going through a difficult situation. After she'd been caught shoplifting a home pregnancy test, Rachel's family learned that she was pregnant. The father of Rachel's child was her boyfriend, an 18-year-old high school senior. This case would further be complicated by an odd sighting of Rachel shortly thereafter. 5 days after she disappeared, a group of girls claimed to have seen Rachel talking on a payphone outside of a local grocery store. Rachel's boyfriend was with her, and after she handed the phone to him, she went over to the girls and asked them for a ride. When they turned her down, Rachel walked into the store, and that's the last time she was seen. Since Rachel was underage and her boyfriend was legally an adult, he was charged with aggravated indecent liberties with a child shortly before her disappearance. Rachel was set to testify as a witness against her boyfriend, but after she went missing, the charges against him were dropped. Naturally, this caused authorities to zero in on the boyfriend as a suspect, but he has always maintained his innocence and denied being with Rachel during the alleged sighting at the grocery store. There is no evidence that Rachel ever gave birth to her unborn child, and the circumstances behind her disappearance are still unknown. In 1991, 34-year-old Gordon Collins left his hometown of Palm Springs, California, for a vacation in Baja California Zoo with his girlfriend, Anastasia Seals, and another couple, Wayne Schwartz and Arlene Burlington. On April 23, they left the port of Punta Chivato for a fishing trip on the Sea of Cortez. Later that day, a huge storm hit the area, and the boat never returned. A few days later, the capsized vessel was found, and the bodies of Wayne Schwartz and Anastasia Seals were discovered floating about 1.6 kilometers, 1 mile, away. In spite of an extensive search, the bodies of Gordon Collins and Arlene Burlington were never found. While it seemed likely that they drowned, There would soon be unexpected sightings of a man resembling Gordon in Mexico. Months after the boating accident, residents of the Mexican village of Colonia Vicente Guerrero took note of a disoriented-looking American man who frequently wandered through the village and lived off handouts. When word reached the Collins family, they came to believe that this transient might be a Gordon and that he was suffering from amnesia. This theory started picking up credibility when Gordon's family heard various eyewitness accounts of an American man wandering out of the ocean onto a beach in close proximity to where his capsized boat was found. As the months went on, there would be at least 50 sightings of this mysterious man in the area. At one point, he was arrested in a Mexican village for stealing food, and the sheriff brought in a local American citizen to translate. The American claimed that the man bore a striking resemblance to Gordon Collins and that he even introduced himself as Gordy. However, in spite of an extensive search, Gordon's parents never located this transient or their son. On December 8, 2006, 24-year-old Shonda Stansbury phoned her stepmother and claimed that the father of her 4 children had left them alone and that she was planning to go get them. Early the next morning, Shonda showed up at the Waffle House where her sister worked in Weldon, North Carolina. Shonda appeared to be in rough shape, with several bruises on her face and legs and a bump on her temple, but she didn't tell anyone what happened. One of the customers offered to give Shonda a ride. After she was dropped off at a trailer court, Shonda went missing without explanation. Since Shonda was known to have problems with drugs and alcohol, authorities initially suspected that she disappeared on her own, but a disturbing eyewitness sighting changed their perspective. 5 days after Shonda's disappearance, a woman called 911, claiming that she had seen a nude woman running behind a grocery store in Halifax County. According to the caller, the woman was bleeding from the nose and screaming for help. The witness initially opened her passenger door to assist the woman but became fearful when she saw 2 black men chasing her into the woods. Since the witness had no access to a phone at that time, it would be 12 minutes before she could report the incident to the police. The caller was convinced that the woman she saw was Shonda Stansbury. However, a search of the area turned up no trace of Shonda, and no evidence has ever been found to corroborate the caller's story. Shonda Stansbury remains missing. On January 8, 1994, 35-year-old Renee LaManna was found wandering the streets of New York City. She was barefoot and appeared to be disoriented. Renee had recently broken up with her boyfriend of 10 years, which may have caused her to suffer a mental breakdown. After she was treated in a psychiatric emergency room, arrangements were made to take Renee to her sister's home in Ocean City, New Jersey. That evening, Renee ran out of the house while dressed in a bathrobe. Approximately 2 hours later, she was seen at a bar in nearby Summers Point. After leaving the bar, Renee vanished, but her bathrobe was discovered 2 blocks away. It was theorized that Renee was suffering from dissociative fugue disorder, causing her to forget who she was. There were numerous unconfirmed sightings of Renee over the next 2 decades, but major developments didn't occur until 2014. In October, a Good Samaritan named Ruth Collins befriended a homeless woman in Gretna, Virginia, and spent the next few days helping her out. The woman apparently said that her name was Renee Lehman and claimed that she was looking for her family. Months later, Collins discovered Renee LaManna's profile in a missing persons database and was struck by the resemblance. Collins had taken several photos of the woman, and when Renee's family saw them, they became convinced that it was her. When this story made the news in February 2015, police received several tips from witnesses who claimed to have encountered this woman in Virginia and North Carolina. The investigation also uncovered a recent mugshot of the woman, who had been picked up by police in October 2014 and gave her name as Josephine Pagano. The search to locate Renee LaManna continues on, but she hasn't been found. There are some cases in which eyewitnesses will provide specific details to make investigators believe that their sighting might be credible. While the following missing persons cases are still unsolved, they all contain some very unusual eyewitness sightings that caused everyone to look at the case in a very different light.